Good evening and a warm welcome to the attendees from all over the world. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the CEO's Chair is a unique program where we showcase inspiring stories. We give you an insight into the mindset of successful people and discuss not only their challenges, but also help you understand their definitions of success and leadership. So today is our 52nd episode, and we have another such inspiring story. I'll be discussing magic, success, and peak performance with India's greatest mentalist and mind reader, Nakul Shenoy. Welcome to the show, Nakul.
Hey, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Nakul, we had a brief conversation on Tuesday, unfortunately, which was marred by technical difficulties. But yes, absolutely. So fingers crossed for today. A few lines of introduction for you, Nakul, for those in the audience that may not be very familiar with your work. You're a real-life mentalist. You're a speaker of choice for Fortune 500 companies and a communication scientist. You started practicing magic at the age of 15 and are also a 10-time TEDx speaker. You're a lover of books as well as tea, and you published your first book in 2015, which was titled Smart Course in Magic. So we've covered a lot of topics on Tuesday, Nakul, where we talked about everything from magic and mentalism, and is it real? Can it be learned? What are the differences between a magician, a mind reader, and so on? And I'm sure you probably get this question probably hundreds of times and maybe even multiple times a day. But for the audience here today, what is a mentalist, Nakul?
For the audience here today, what is a mentalist? It's a show called The Mentalist on PBS, which is now, I think, on Amazon.
Yes.
It stars this character called Patrick Jane, who is a real life, or rather, he's a retired fake psychic who goes and consults on crime. I am not that. I see mentalism as a branch of magic, essentially a branch that deals with one of the different genres of or types of magical effects. We briefly spoke about this the last time.
Right.
Essentially, magic, when we see a magician on stage, a magician could be doing certain amount of things. He could perhaps take a pen and he could like vanish it, right? So that's a vanish. He would produce it. That's another effect. He could take a pen and make that into a pencil, perhaps. So that's another one. A pen is a stiff thing. Perhaps you would make it very soft and wobbly, right? So so that's now changing properties of the item. So similarly, you have what has been categorized as 9 different categories of magic. The last among them is magic with the power of the mind, right? And that's where the journey of mentalism starts, because you are mostly performing effects which show that the mind is all powerful. And you are essentially showing that with the power of the mind, you could know what's going to happen in the future. With the power of the mind, I could influence you to do exactly what I want you to do. With the power of the mind, I could bend metal, perhaps. A ton of things like that, but it's or even take control of you through hypnosis and things like that. Right? So all these end up being in the genre of what is generally known as mental magic and mentalism. We travel from magic to mental magic, and now we are going towards mentalism. The difference between a magician and a mentalist in that sense, in the purest of sense, academically speaking, is the magic magic in that sense is about the impossible.
Okay.
You know, I can't vanish something. You know, I can't produce something. If I vanish from here and reappear next to you right now, that's an impossibility, very clearly. But if I delve in the area of the improbable, perhaps that's possible. Perhaps sixth sense is possible. Perhaps I can actually take control of my mind through hypnosis. It sounds not possible, but perhaps it's possible, right? So that improbability is essentially what defines mentalism. So it's a very gray area. You can quickly move into magic, or you can fall back into the mundane normal. And so that's where it is.
No, it sounds very, very interesting, Nakul. And obviously, it's been around for centuries and centuries. Speaking of the show the mentalist, have you ever been tempted to, or has anybody ever approached you to kind of, tell them what has happened in the past, or maybe solve a crime or predict something that's going to happen in the future?
Yes, a lot of times. You go through that. So I mean, we spoke about this also, kind of. So see, a magician or any kind of a magic character on stage is a theatrical construct. I am going to tell you certain things on stage because I want you to believe I am Hamlet or whoever I'm supposed to.
Correct.
Right? Now, as if I'm Julius Caesar on stage and Brutus and others put knives into me and I'm dying on stage, I don't look up at the audience and say, "Hey, this is all an act."
Agreed.
I don't, right? But people expect. But the reason I'm saying that is people seem to expect that of magicians. Mentalism takes you to a genre where you believe it. You start looking at whatever is happening on stage to be very real, despite this person telling you, "Hey, this is a ticketed show. You're come here for entertainment."
Correct.
Right? But people expect you to not just give disclaimers, but also give post credits in that sense, and even during the show, sort of tell them this is fake, which sort of will break that suspension of disbelief.
Of course.
So that is generally the primary problem of even performing this kind of effect, because not a day goes by when you're not reached out for these specific things, but these are okay. What hurts you is when people reach you as a last resort. They're going through something in life, or somebody in the family is going through some illness, etc., and they think you can use your powers to help them, and those are the moments when you really wonder, okay, is there something I could do? Do I sort of have something? Do I have powers and things like that? So there are, I think a lot of us fall prey to that. So that's what I meant when you're saying you're walking this very gray area. You can turn into a magician. Perhaps you can turn into a godman. There have been people who have gone the different ways. But I think, it's a choice, and it's all about morality.
I'm sure. And I'm sure that you've had to establish boundaries for yourself morally and emotionally, some lines that you may not cross or will not cross.
Yes. So if after a corporate show, somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, this is what I've gone through in my life. What can I do about it?" And based on my expertise, if I have knowledge I can share, that will help them. If I can do a quick hypnosis session, that will help them. Or you spoke about visualization techniques the other day. I'm a big fan of that. Giving them tips about visualization, positive thinking, and things like that, I will definitely do that. I will mostly always point them to other people who are experts in the field, books that are the best experts in the field, and tell them to sort of go there and reach out to me whenever needed, and I'm going to be there. Okay. When it gets more in terms of health and other things, I also talk to them. What I essentially tell them is that they should meet a doctor, and doctors know best. Whichever be the arena they're calling me from, they need to meet good doctors, and they need to trust them. And don't, and I always say, do not trust anybody like me who will tell you that they can solve this for you, because they're going to take you for a ride.
No, I think it's excellent. You're referring them to trained practitioners that have studied for years and actually, medically can diagnose them and hopefully cure them as well.
I actually have an example for that. So if somebody comes to me, and asks me for, sorry, I just got a call here. I'm just going to put that on silent. Really sorry about that. Okay. If there have been cases where somebody's come to me and asked me to, take away pain, perhaps a pain in the head or pain in the feet or something like that. As a hypnotist, it's very easy to do that, at least to take it away temporarily.
Okay.
But I am not a medical practitioner. I can help you. Hypnosis is not me taking over your mind. Hypnosis is pretty much self-hypnosis. So it is me playing a guide to help you tell your mind how it can forget that pain exists. but I don't know what's causing that pain.
Of course.
If I take that pain away, that pain, as they say, is always a warning, and it's not really the cause, right? So it's more like the symptom versus the cause in that sense. And using this, so it's important then that I do not really take the pain away, because I don't know what I'm messing with. If you have had if you can't sleep for ages, I can perhaps help you. But should I is a medical question, to be frank.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something I talk a lot to friends who are in the medicine and health sciences side of things. Figure out what are elements that I or other hypnotists or other practitioners of even magic can help people. Placebo is so powerful. We are perhaps the best practitioners of placebo. If the pain is anything that's only psychological, a magician or a hypnotist is perhaps the best person to meet. If it's anything beyond that, it's physiological, we are the worst persons to meet. but I am not qualified to take that call. And so it's safer to say, okay, I'm going to reduce your pain to a point where you can just feel it, but it's not gone completely. And I need you to go to the doc right now. So it will take away that pain because you just fell and most probably it's a fracture. But the moment you meet the doc, you will know how much it is really paining, and you will be able to tell him how much it is really paining. So that's how I go around this. So I help them, and in that interim where they're going to the doc, reducing the pain for them. But the moment, it's like a post-hypnotic thing, that the moment they meet the doc, it's not to say the pain will go back to its original thing, but at least they know in the mind to tell him or her how bad it is. Because if the doc presses and I say, no, it's not paining, the doc is going to send you back without an X-ray.
Absolutely. Or at the very most, like aspirin or a crocin or something like that.
Yeah. So I think it's at the end of it, with all these fields, it's basically about knowing where are we and what harm can we do without with half-baked knowledge.
No, and this is definitely very enlightening, Nakul, as well. Now, just taking it back a couple of years to your origins, you got interested in magic through Mandrake the Magician, like you had mentioned, at a very young age. You did your first magic show at the age of 15, if I'm not wrong. What memories do you have from that?
Yes, just a couple of years back.
What memories do you have from that show, Nakul?
What memories do I have from my first show? The real memory comes of the show is not the show itself, not the claps that I got, not that I was. It's just a whir, because I've told you this. I've never been a people person. I always learned magic. I thought magic was real. I thought magic was real. So when I came in, I wanted to learn magic. Essentially to say, I can be a magician. My grandmom was having arthritis. I wanted to use magic and take her pain in. Right? So I wanted to do real magic. Quickly, I learned that's not how it works. Okay. This guy inspired me immensely, right? Mandrake the Magician. This, by the way, is a new series in India called Regal Comics. That's, I think, somewhere in Kerala, that are reprinting the entire Mandrake and Phantom comics. Okay. I just got them a couple of days back, so they're right here on the right side. So I just pulled that in. I don't make anything from it, not a plug. But Mandrake inspired me to want to be a magician, because Mandrake gestures hypnotically, and he can make you see anything he wants. And so as a 5-year-old, I wanted to do that. Between 5 and 15, I learned a lot of magic, but never went on stage because I was scared of people, extremely scared of people. I did not even show this magic to anybody. Then circumstances happened. I've told you this before. A couple of top magicians walked into my house, Professor Shankar, Junior Shankar, looked at my horrendous show and gave me some tips and basically said, practice more, etc. But and then a couple of weeks or months later, they called me and said, this is a show that we want you to do. And I'll cut that story short, but so that is the show you're referring to. That whole show is a whoosh, right? Because first time I'm scared, and it was not a small show. It was like 500 plus people. It's a Ganesh Chaturthi event in Udupi. packed. I mean, they are not gonna go home till you get off the stage, kind of a thing, right? And all that. Um, but the only thing I remember really and is after the show, or I think before the show. I don't even remember that. But there was this backstage. Backstage was basically not a backstage. It was just a curtain.
Correct.
The front was the stage. Behind that, I was sort of, I think, dressing up, or I was removing the coat after the show. And I had this imagination of how I should be on stage, and such clothes were never available in India. So or at least in Udupi. And so I got a tailor to do certain things for me. I became the fashion designer. So I got him to do like a frill with a neck, right? Just a neck and a frill, nothing else. So I'm wearing this t-shirt. Okay, this is this 15-year-old wearing a t-shirt, half sleeve t-shirt with this frill, which is awesome. If I wear a vest on top of it, it covers this part. So the frill looks like this. And how did I do all this? Lance Burton. I took a photograph of Lance Burton from one of these books, went to the tailor and said, I want you to do this. He said, I have no clue how to do it. So I gave him ideas how to do it. You make this then give me a vest, then you make a coat, 3 things together and just bands on the hand. So I am a magician on stage. So this small kid comes, pulls off the thing from the side and looks in, trying to look for the magician. First of all, he didn't expect a 15-year-old on the other side. He sees me with these white bands, a half sleeve t-shirt and this thing around my neck. And I still remember the words he said. Amma, magician illa. Hucha idane. Okay, hucha basically means crazy man.
Okay.
Okay, so the kid looks at me weirdly dressed and says, there's this madman inside. There's no magician in there. So that's my takeaway from that first show. That's an image that keeps coming back to my mind right through.
Wow. And how many shows has it been since, Nakul? Since the age of 15?
25 years plus. I really don't know.
Probably
we have been somewhere between 100, 200 shows, I guess, at least. I really don't keep count. But my shows have generally been corporate from very young in that sense. I've not so much been a public, a birthday and those kind of performer. I've done that ages back, but not in the last 20 odd years at least. And So I think I've just been fortunate to have done and to be doing what I'm doing, and to have had the opportunity to perform this for awesome people around the world.
Sure.
I've performed for Mr. Premji. I've had occasions of performing for massive audiences of 10,000 plus. I've had occasions of performing only for 5-6 people, which perhaps represented 80% of India's capital. So so it's been a fantastic journey. I hope it continues that way.
No, I'm sure it will. What would you say if somebody was to ask you, is your best show to date? The one where everything went the way that you wanted it to be, you were in flow, and of course, I mean, you probably blow away the audience every show, but you left on cloud 9.
Yes. So I used to say it's that show with Mr. Premji, because I was clearly told that don't mind. He would leave after 10 minutes of me starting.
Okay.
He not just sat through the whole thing. At some point, I actually involved him in the show, and at the end of the show, he sort of walked up and said how much he liked it. And I don't think they make people like that anymore. I think humility, the mold was broken after him. The other was that 10,000 plus audience from Pan IIT. I was supposed to go on stage at about 7 o'clock in the evening. I went on at 11 o'clock in the night, following what was supposed to be the end of the day by Louis Bang, Chaurasia, and I think Shivamani.
Okay.
And they got a standing ovation. And I'm going, this is 2006. And I'm going, I want a standing ovation, right? At 11:45, my show ended with a standing ovation. So that was one of those highs. But your question was, what has been my best show?
Mhm.
The best show was a nondescript event. It is just one of those shows where I was in flow. I had a good day. Perhaps I had a few bad things. It was in a small. It was most probably something I did for a friend as a favor kind of a thing. It's not even one of those most paid or most attended kind of a thing. And one person had, among these 25, 30 people that attended it, there was one person. I did the show. I came back home. Bangalore had massive rains that day. I had my cab waiting for me. So I got home, etc., etc. The next day, I received an email from this person called Sanjay Kabe.
Okay.
So I have that. I've like sort of framed that letter. So he writes a 2-pager printout kind of a letter, which describes how difficult it was for him to get back home. How it took him 4 hours to get back home from wherever the show was because Bangalore was flooded. And he talks about this rickshaw driver who kept telling him, "Sir, don't worry, I will take you home." And at the end of it, it goes on like that. At the end of it, he says, "Sorry, but I had to ask myself, was this all worth it?" And he says this was more than worth all that trouble I went through, not knowing whether I was gonna go home because there was floods in Bangalore, all that stuff. And Sanjay is a good friend now. That was the first time he had seen me. And to me, that has to be the best performance ever. Because unknowingly, somebody goes back and writes to me, thinks about it enough to write back, saying, he actually used that Aishwarya Rai, some ad and said, L'Oreal is worth it or some such line. And he said, he used this line afterwards saying, your show was worth it. It was worth all these troubles I took. And so I think many a times it's not about how important the show is, who you're performing for, what you're doing. It's exactly what you said. Can every show be with you in flow? Can every performance be your best ever? Because you don't know what the person in front is going through. I have had people, for whatever reasons, my show was, one of the last entertainment events they attended and things like that. And you look back and say, I am so thankful I got that person on stage and all that stuff. So, yeah.
No,
I think I'm digressing your questions completely.
But that's a lovely story. And it's great that you managed to become friends because people have the strangest way of giving compliments as well. It sounds like a very roundabout way of giving compliments.
I got one of those. I did a show and I got this one-liner mail.
Mm-hmm.
It said, "You sucked.
Wow.
Everything you did was fake. You don't have any powers." I wrote back a polite mail that said, when did I claim that I had powers? This is one of I think almost 10 years back, the only one public event I had done. If you want to get that money returned, I'm sorry that you didn't like the show. And then I get this really long mail, which is this whole thing you're talking about.
Correct.
Oh, I thought you would not write to me, so I wrote to you like this. I really liked you. I'm like, what?
Unbelievable. But Nakul, your shows always are known to have a theme, right? You have a specific theme that you try and build on, or they're known to be what you like to call cerebral entertainment.
Yes. Magic for the sake of magic does not excite me anymore. I don't think it ever did. I've always been a talking magician in that sense, which is known as patter magic or conjurer right at the start, as bad as my talks used to be. And so my shows have tended to be thematic. My Master of Science thesis was on the power of magic to communicate.
Okay.
And I was following a PhD from Pune University back in 2000, which I dropped out of for a variety of reasons. I still harbor the thought that I'll get back to the PhD at some point in time. But yeah, magic and communication hold a dear connection for me. Plus, I think I understand it slightly better than most. And so it's not one that I have a theme, but more importantly, I generally ask my clients, what is the theme of the event? How do I fit in? Okay. If they have a message that is for the whole event, or if there's a theme that's going around the whole event, or if they are trying to communicate a particular takeaway to the audience, I think that's where I fit in the best. If you just want entertainment, yeah, I'll blow your mind. You will remember me for the rest of the. I mean, that's a guarantee. That that you will remember me for the rest of your life is a guarantee. But can I make it more special? Can I make a connect to the event? Can I make it thematic? Is something that excites me, and that's why I call it cerebral entertainment, as in entertainment with some meaning in it.
No,
why did
absolutely.
I? You shouldn't go back saying that was good, but why the heck did I watch it?
Absolutely. And like you had mentioned, you get invited by Fortune 500 companies and a lot of corporate events as well. And I'm sure you invariably get, we want to motivate our people. Now, you being the communication scientist and you being the mentalist, do you believe that people can be motivated by an external source or an external person? Or is it all intrinsic?
You changed your question. I think we can definitely be motivated or demotivated by external factors and external people. To be fact, I think it's the external factors that always motivate or demotivate us. It is our environment. It is those things around. Don't get me wrong. It's not that to say we can't be self-motivated, etc. But the amount of influence that a closed one or people you look up to, people you believe in, can have is immense. You need it is almost like that research that talks about how the first no needs 9 yeses to come back to neutral. If my first impression of you is no, then you need 9 positives for me to sort of hit back to ground zero and then climb. Whereas if your first impression was okay, neutral or good, I would have been at 90% already. So that impact is here, just at a much higher level.
Okay.
And so I also believe, thus, as a speaker, as a performer, as a person, we owe it to those around us to just spread joy and spread motivation, whether they need it or not. As much as we need to motivate ourselves, as much as we need to put things behind us and move forward, a good speaker, even if that good speaker or that performer is just going to make you laugh like you've never laughed before, for 1 hour, you're going to walk away with a lot of positives. You're going to walk away with a lot of positive energy, and that's going to be very, very helpful. And that's going to help you in unconnected ways to achieve what it is that you want.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a very noble thought that you try and be the source of positive energy for people and create that sort of environment as well. We have a lot of sorry.
I'm sorry. So the primary thing I'm just trying to also add on there is, so it's there are people who come and give you these fantastic speeches. They motivate you through their talk and things. But I think it's basically just that connect. If I connect with my audience, I may not even have said anything. I may not have given you an Einstein quote today or whatever that is that motivates you. But just the fact that you watched a performance that you connected to and made your mind go slightly more creative, question what's happening. Could he have powers? But yeah, he could. But he's telling me very clearly he doesn't have powers. And how the heck is he doing what? Even that is, I think, extremely useful, because we as a people have stopped thinking. Critical thinking, or even asking questions in this kind of a world we are living in right now, can be dangerous. Forget that forget that it is not encouraged, but it can be extremely dangerous, right? So yeah, we need all the motivation we can find.
No, and that being said, there are a lot of people, and I'm sure in the audience and those that will watch the video later on as well, that, like you, were probably shy of interacting with people, have stage fright, don't really want to go and present in front of an audience of people. What, in your opinion, are probably the top 2 or 3 things that somebody can do to have a memorable stage presence, like you do, I'm sure, in all of your shows?
Learn magic. There are 2 Nakuls. There's that Nakul that was still 15 years, who who literally ran away from stage. I mean, you've seen my book. So there's a story in that talks about, I can plug.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
Smart course in magic. But in there is a story of me, which is a real story of me in fifth standard, I think. Being dressed up. There are other stories earlier in life also where I've done the same thing. But even at fifth standard, I have gone dressed as Chacha Nehru, etc. I go from the side wings, put my head out, look at my schoolmates, and run off.
You're like, this is not for me.
Off.
Wow.
Yeah. Magic, saying magic. In my early magic days, before that 15-year show, I had some fancy dress in school. And so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll be a magician. So I took 3 or 4 of these things and I put it in a bag and I took it to school. And then I was having the second thought. No, I don't want to get on stage. I really don't want to get on stage. And my very good best friend sitting next to me told the teacher, Nakul has brought props today so he can do magic. So I still remember that. And then the teacher said, oh, okay, so we'll announce you and you can go and do it. And I kept praying to God or whatever powers out there that she forget it. And she did. That's what makes me believe in these powers. So before that age 15, that particular show, I was like this. I did not want to get in front of people. Post that has been a different journey. Post that, it has been initial journey where I can hide behind these boxes. I can have these big boxes from where I can produce people, vanish people, or generally I have things in my hand behind which I'm doing something, right? And on the other hand, as I got along into college and further, I realized, hey, I don't really need those boxes. I don't need those things. Just a mic is enough. There have been events where things went so bad in a particular international magic event in Bangalore. Something happened. Events were running late. They let normal, lay people, as we call them, in, and these guys had paid tickets. And there's something else happening on stage. So these guys the magicians are sitting watching something. Somebody says something they shouldn't have to somebody else. Fights break out, etc. And I'm just sitting there in the audience. I have nothing to do with this. I just walk up to this international performer in our case, he's an Olympian. We have the Olympics of Magic. He's a winner. He's performing. He's actually teaching magic. I walk up to him and say, can you stop this act and continue this tomorrow morning? He says, yeah. I say, can I have the mic? I walk on and I sort of take control. I say, guys, we are sorry, blah, blah. And this is a KS Ramesh event. And so Ramesh sir walks up to me and says, Nakul, you're the MC for the rest of the evening. And I'm like, I'm not even dressed for it. I'm like in some kurta and stuff like that. So yeah, so ever since then, I'm always dressed for an event. Always dressed to walk on and take the mic. But I think that flip happened because of magic.
Okay.
And so that's one, very clearly. Again, long answer. Sorry about that. 2, that statement that when you are on stage, you are the expert and they really don't know anything. That's true. Even if it's not, believe it's true. It helps. It does help. If you have that thing of, okay, if that doesn't help so much, just go with the thing of, I have the mic and they don't.
Got it.
So even if they are saying something, it's okay. Only 2 people around them can hear it. You have the mic, so everybody can hear you. A couple of these things will bring the third element come in, which is you will start loving your time on stage. And so that's my third thing. Love your time on stage. Whatever it is that you do. If you love singing, if you love painting, whatever it is, your time in that limelight, own it, make it your own.
Absolutely.
I can't do anything else other than magic. But yeah, I have friends who excel in all these other things. And I think it's just that. What can I again do? What can I do in this 2 minutes, 5 minutes to influence everybody here and make them remember me?
No, I think that's such great advice, Nakul, that if you're not passionate about what you're doing, why do you expect other people to be passionate about you or your work?
Yeah, true.
So
I think that's true with everything.
Absolutely. And it shows, right? People can tell. And we talk about nonverbal and we talk about body language all the time. People can tell whether you're having a good time and you know what you're talking about, or the opposite is also true?
Actually, reminded me, rule 2 is perhaps smile. 1 is magic, but if you don't have magic, then replace that with a genuine heartfelt smile. The other 2 rules still remain. Flip magic out and bring a smile. You go on there and say, I genuinely love this audience or these people, and they're going to love me back, and have that smile. And yeah, that's the biggest win.
Absolutely. And what I'm going to do at this stage is also encourage any of the audience members that might have any questions for you to save them up either towards the end, or they can just put it on the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to ask Nakul your questions for you. Nakul, one of the questions that we left off, I think in our previous conversation, was that since you're analyzing so much information every time that you meet somebody or interact with somebody, would you consider yourself an overthinker or an overanalyzer, if there is such a term?
Interesting question. I know you asked it last time, but slightly differently. Yeah, so that answers it a bit. I analyze things. I hear. I read. When I say I read, I don't mean books. I mean, if there's something written on your T-shirt, I would read it. If you're walking around, I'm like, sort of, my mind is going behind some. I can't read it very clearly, but I can see some hotel kind of a word on one of those DVDs or whatever it is that you have behind you. Correct. So the mind is, trying to read text all the time. So I am analyzing. I am giving attention. I am very observational. I was not like this. I've trained myself to be like this.
Okay.
We are very myopic. We are very, very myopic. We train ourselves. No, if you're driving to office, you're just thinking of that and nothing else, and some other thing is going on in your mind. You even forget the drive. That's how myopic we are, right? So I've sort of trained to observe the 180 degrees. So if I have my hands out here at 180, I can see both of them, and that is something you just do and think. So I don't know about the over analysis part, but I do try to avoid getting overburdened. So to answer the first part that you sort of said, you're always analyzing people, you're always doing this. I am not.
Okay.
I would go mad if I'm doing that. If I have nothing else to do and I'm in an airport, and if I don't really have something to read, which is very rare, I would perhaps sit down and just observe people because that's homework for me. Just look at 2 people talking, try to figure out what they're talking about and things like that. That's intentional. But if I was doing this as I'm walking down MG Road, Bangalore, right now it's empty, but on non-pandemic days, I would be like that Rain Man movie scene where he suddenly starts hearing everybody's voices. So in that sense, I do avoid overburdening myself. I like to take things tad slower and process things. Absolutely. But I don't think I might be doing things which are exactly opposite of what I'm saying right now, but I don't think I overanalyze.
So taking that train of thought a little bit further, have you found that these, let's say, enhanced powers of observation and analysis have helped you in your relationships, or have they been detrimental to your relationships?
In personal relationships, I do not bring them in. If I turn to my wife and say, "Oh, you're looking angry today," or whatever, that would bring on a level of anger that perhaps she did not have before I said it. So family, close friends are not people to try your so-called powers on. I don't look at them as powers. I look at them as your mind already. Okay, here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Body language is not behavioral. Body language is biological, which means you, me, everybody are born with this knowledge of how can I influence you? How can I make you feel sad for me? How can I make you feel happy, etc., etc. And this is not me. This is tons of research that's talking about Desmond Morris and all these guys. The tons of research that has gone into it. And the best example we have experienced. Kids. The moment babies are born, they are the #1 influencers in the world. With one small wink or one small half smile, they can, melt your heart, blah, blah, blah. And it's not so much that it's your kid or something, any baby, right? They know, very young kids know, even if you go, I'm going to whack you, they're just going to look at you because they know that you're not. There's something in you that tells them this is an empty threat. And if, for what I'm not recommending beating kids, but on the other hand, if you even start thinking about it, even before your hand needs to come up, they know they're out of there. And this is what we are born with. That's why the biological word. We are born with this. After that, we forget this. With all the other things we are learning, we forget this. So we all are body language experts. We don't need books to be body language experts.
Correct.
And body language is real. I mean, it is real. If I'm looking at you and I'm smiling, I dare you not to be smiling.
Of course.
Because so it's that. If I do like this, you are not going to smile. But if it's a heartfelt, I am thinking of perhaps whatever else that is funny to me and I'm smiling, you will be smiling. So that human connect is real. And it's just about us realizing how much of it can we learn, imbibe, and make it second nature. And so now connecting it back to what you were asking me, around me all the time, I use, knowingly or unknowingly, I use my skills in that sense. I have a sort of a side profession of being a user experience researcher. I have used this in my interviews with a general public who will come in. I'm asking them how they're using their phone. They answer something, and there have been times when I've just looked and said, but that's not really true, right? That's a lie. So what is it that you really like about it or don't like about it? So I'm paraphrasing right now. But it has helped. I mean, I think that ability of slightly knowing more than the other person is always beneficial. Always beneficial. Side note, we are dangerous.
And it's a very powerful statement, to paraphrase what you said, that if you really want to know somebody, don't watch what they say, watch what they do.
Yeah. Watch everything, right? Observe. I would not say watch. I think the word is observe. Soak it in. It's not to right now see how his feet are they crossed, are they straight? Is he standing with half a, it's not that. It's just to soak this all in and go back and do the analysis.
So what do you think about when people say, oh, I'd rather go with my gut rather than use logical reasoning to make a decision? Is there credence to the fact that one is better than the other?
What is gut? It is not independent of you. So it cannot be that you suddenly got an idea which came from nowhere. That, what we call gut feeling, is basically either a chemical reaction, as neuroscientists have been talking about, and saying, okay, why you suddenly feel uncomfortable in a certain scenario is because of certain smells and other things that you're going through, or even some of these sounds which are at higher or lower levels that you can't really hear, but your body can feel. So you're feeling icky in that sense.
Of course.
But all other things are like that joke about this guy who was called to fix a ship's motor and engine, and he comes and he walks around, takes a hammer and whacks for a moment, and it's all back. And they say, he gives a bill of whatever, $20,000 or something, and they say, but all you did was whack. And he says, he reforms the bill, $2 for hitting it there, and the 18,998 for the 20 years of knowledge that I've built to know where to hit, right? So it's our mind that's working in the background all the time.
Of course.
Your mind is, even when you're sleeping, it's at work. So it's soaking in all this information. So what we call gut feel, many a times, is very pure knowledge, decision being thrown at us by our mind. And if we can recognize that as coming from our mind, I think we should just follow it because it knows best.
Makes sense. So I've got a very...
What happens, just to close that half minute. What happens mostly is we try to force this. And that's where we go wrong. We go like, how could I, okay, what does my gut feel say today? Won't work, right? And that's where we go wrong. We think this becomes, because humans always look for patterns. If something happens 2 times, we believe this is the pattern and we go ahead. So gut feel starts being treated as a pattern, and it's not. It's never that. Sorry,
Correct.
go on. You had a question.
No. So it was in line with what you had mentioned initially. And I think one of the audience members just put it out there saying that there are a lot of creators out there, and Nakul is an influencer in his own right. As somebody who wants to be an influencer, how do I put a price on my art? How do
I'm slightly lost. So there are a lot of creators out there.
Yes. So there are a lot of creators, influencers and bloggers and artists out there.
Okay.
And there is that, and from what I can tell from the question, I'm assuming there's always an eternal struggle between, because your art is the most important thing to you in the world, but then you have people that are trying to commercialize it and put a price to it.
Got it. Okay. Thanks for the clarification. Thanks for the question. It's a fantastic question. Whoever asked. Okay. The influencer part, if that refers to my social media presence, etc.,
Yes.
I am one of those few guys who does not charge anything. I do not do paid posts. That's my rule. I've been offered tons of money to do very segmented, very specific posts, but I have a simple rule. I do not make paid posts. What you see there is me. That's it. If I don't like something, I will say I don't like it. And that's why brands perhaps love me, but they hate me more, because if I buy something, I have paid money for it. I love it. I'm going to say I love it. If I have a problem, I'm going to go back to Twitter and bash it. So I'm very truthful. I am like that in life, and that's how I am in social media. And that would be my, I'm not saying don't make money from it. If you can, but my point is be truthful. You need to put a certain part of you out there on in the public domain, which is seen as being truthful and not being seen. For example, when a Kohli or one of our real stars comes and tells you, I drive this Hyundai or whatever, they are not, right? So
Yes.
it's you don't want to be. I mean, of course, you reach there, you do that. That's a different argument.
Correct.
Coming to the art side, as an artist, as a performer, I think it's which is why I love the question. I think it's an eternal struggle. I've spoken about this to a lot of people, and I think the best option really is to have a good manager. I don't, but as in I don't have a manager. But
I was just going to say that.
But no, I've spoken to people, and there's a reason. An artist should be free enough to just concentrate on, hey, I don't care, I'm going to perform. And you need somebody who says, you will do this or you'll not do this. Left to me, I'll do everything. Left to me, you want a free show, I'll do it. You want a show for 10 lakhs, I'll do it. Whatever that, right? Because money is secondary, to be frank, because as an artist, you want to get on stage. Of course, you want to make money, but as an artist, you want to go out and do it. And that's where we as artists fall prey. So whatever it is you do, you need to define whatever it is. It could be 500 rupees, it could be 15,000, it could be 15 lakhs, whatever it is your number. You need to define it for yourself and say, I will not share my craft under this amount. Look at it like this. If you have it's a different Zoom world right now, but if I was going out to do a show somewhere and somebody wanted me to go to Assam and perform, I'm going to lose 2 days. That's 2 days away from my family. How much is that worth to me? Is that worth 5,000 a day? Right. Is that worth 10,000 a day? Whatever that. And now that's the money that I would say, okay, I would not go under. That does not mean that you do not do free shows.
Of course.
Or lower rated shows. But those you do based on you wanting to do it, not because somebody says, hey, I don't have a budget, so you come and do it. I can't pay you, so you come. Oh, you do this and you'll get hundreds of shows because of these free shows. No, you will not even get one show from that show, because I'm sorry if there are lions and road tracks here, but everybody in the audience knows that you are there on stage because you want to do the free show, and all the inquiries you will get are for that free show.
Absolutely.
Right? So one of the rules I've always had right through my life is have this number. The number has changed from 3-digit to 4-digit to whatever digits.
Correct.
And I do not go under that. And that is another thing that, because I don't have a manager, that's very important, because multiple event companies, top event companies of India in that sense, are pitching me for shows. And now they should trust me enough that if a Wizcraft is pitching me somewhere and a Quan is pitching me somewhere, they should know that Nakul cannot be sold under this amount.
Makes sense.
Right? And so that long answer again, sorry, is sort of my take at it. Define what not so much what you're worth for the audience and things like that. If you're thinking like that, get an MBA or get a manager or somebody, hire them, right? But always have a price point under which you will not do. Okay, one professional advice. There will be events you will want to do that you want to do just for the heck of it. And so I have that. Most of the times when I know a deserving cause is coming to me and say, hey, I'll pay you so much, I do two things. One, I either say, no, I do not want any payment from you.
Correct.
Because I completely trust the cause. So I do not want a part payment. I have this number. I will not take any payments under that number. Second, I will say, okay, what is your budget for this event? So if they say 10,000, I say, okay, here's the thing. Here are 4 other causes that I really know are genuine. Dream a Dream, Bangalore. There are 2 or 3 that are my go-tos.
Correct.
Put that money there. You will get an IT certificate. I have nothing to do with it. Just show me that you put the money there and I'll do show for you.
Makes sense.
That's your way out. That's your way out by not bringing down your level. It's not to say, oh, Nakul can be got for 2,000 for a birthday party, 10,000 for a family event, and 30,000 for a corporate event. That doesn't work. That really doesn't work.
No, I think one of the most important points that you also mentioned is, depending on what stage of the career you're in as well, you have more luxury to make these choices.
I think you need to make these choices right through, because that's where you're in the luxury of making these choices, as you rightly said, at when you have arrived.
Correct.
You are, by which time you are taken for a ride by every person out there.
Absolutely.
And that's when you need to know that, no, I will not do a show under whatever it is that is your price. And you should have a range. This is my range. I'm just throwing numbers here, don't go by it. But if it's 500 to 1,000, okay, I'll not do show under 500. And for a really good show, I'll charge 1,000. But that's my rate. Let's say the birthday party. You don't get birthday parties for 1,000 rupees anymore. But still, my first show, I got 500 rupees, guys. So that's my benchmark.
No, that's
500 rupees, awesome money. 1995 though, but yeah.
Wow. No, I think, and that question was from Sheetal. So Sheetal, thank you so much. It was a brilliant question. Really made both of us think. Abhinav is asking, what does Nakul do in his spare time apart from drinking tea and reading books? And of course, practicing magic.
That sort of sums it up. I'm on Twitter. I haunt Twitter most of the times. That's how I met Siddharth.
Yes.
Twitter has given me fantastic friends. I'm one of the early Twitterati, as to say. So it's given you real friends that some of who are not there with us anymore. So we've really been there for a very long time in that sense.
Correct.
So what else do I do? I consult for user experience. I consult for top, but I take on very select projects. Okay. Again, for companies that come recommended to me, or I come recommended to them. Neither on my show side nor on my UX side do I advertise myself. These come to me. I'm blessed, really. I'm blessed. So I have a family. I have 3 kids who take away any spare time. Actually, reading also. I mean, if I'm reading nowadays, they just come and pull the book away. So if they want time with me, they get it. So that's where most of the time goes.
And I have Atul asking, how do you innovate in a form like magic or mentalism that is centuries old? How do you combine tradition versus modern?
Fantastic question, Atul. Thanks. Magic is 5,000 years old. 5,000. Yeah. It is by far the oldest, they say second oldest, but oldest craft. And there are effects that are performed even today that go back 5,000 years. These are not parables. These appear in some of the oldest texts of the world, and we are not referring to the Mahabharata and other kind of magic. We are referring to Egyptian texts, etc., where it is referred to as a magic trick and not as something supernatural in that sense. Those, not considering those, it goes back 5,000 years. Having said that, other than 1 or 2 effects, most of the effects you see in the hands of a magician will perhaps have been created over the last 100 years.
Okay.
Magic is an evolving field. There's a simple rule to this. I don't know. One of my favorite movies is Illusionist. I know Prestige is something people all love, but I absolutely love The Illusionist. The reason being, while at some point Prestige goes into sci-fi, whereas Illusionist stays true to the storyline of a stage magician. Most of the things that are shown in the movie are actually possible on stage, and that's why I really like it. Not digressing, staying with the topic. So in The Illusionist, there's a scene where he takes a sword and he puts it on the stage, and he sort of walks away, and he calls the king or prince or whoever to walk on stage and take his sword back. Mm-hmm. And whatever he does, the sword does not come off. It's like stuck.
Like Thor's hammer.
Yeah, it's like Thor's hammer. And this effect actually goes back to early 1900s when electromagnets were just discovered, mid 1900s. So there were a lot of stage effects that were created using electromagnets. One of them being this whole thing of a box that's just brought on stage and kept. The magician just comes, keeps it, and then asks strong people from the audience to come, and they can't pick the box. That was awesome magic then. Today, it's not, because all of us have the most perhaps magnets, etc., in just these small devices that we carry. So it's nothing, right? So now, if somebody comes on stage, and I have this box carrying me right in the place here that I actually borrowed from this friend of mine for one talk, and all this lockdown has just been with me here now. So I have this normal cardboard box that's normally kept on a very clearly specified wooden table that we ask the client to provide, a heavy wooden table.
Okay.
And I just kept on that, and the same effect. Audience member can't come and budge it, but I, who is as puny as I am, can happily come, keep it with one hand. I can pick it up and walk off at the end of the show. So, effect 1940s. But the method has been continuously been worked on to bring it, keep it relevant, and also make it mystifying for today's audience. There's a lot of magic that magicians imagined and performed over the years, which today are not magic because they exist in technology around us. I remember one of the effects I performed back in 97, 98. I called it Faxo Magic. So at these two, actually it was just 2 folders, right? Just 2 folders like this.
Correct.
So this is my one of these magic books for kids, not mine. So this is just 2 folders that I had created, and I got an audience member to come and write something on a piece of paper. Mm-hmm. And he goes to this one side, and he gives that paper to one person. He puts it inside this folder. It's written, full stickers and all, Faxo Magic and all. closes and I say, oh, with the power of magic, I'm going to make that image transfer from here to the other side. And then this opens and a paper falls out. And I take it out and start reading what this guy wrote. And this is in college. And he really shouldn't have written what he wrote. So I had a facsimile of whatever it was that he wrote, which was, wow, because wireless Wi-Fi, blah, blah, etc. We didn't have mobile phones back then. So did not exist. Today, I can do that for real with my printer out here. I can put something on one printer and have another printer, and it can print in the thinnest of cardboards or whatever that is. So I think the biggest challenge is to keep magic relevant. The secrets will always be there. Evolutions will always be there. But the effect itself, like I was talking to somebody recently and saying, the greatest magic effect has been vanishing, right? Producing something and vanishing something.
Absolutely.
Today we're almost there, right? We can have 3D holograms that look so real that a person can, at least our prime minister can appear wherever he wants and talk to you and disappear and go back to where he comes from, etc. And you have 3D projections, so David Copperfield vanishing the Statue of Liberty is a classic. But today people will say, oh, this statue tha hi nahi. It was a 3D hologram that he switched off, and so it went. And then he switched it on again. So I think keeping effects itself relevant is a larger challenge than finding modes and methods. Because as we go along, technology only helps us get more easy to do this. I can keep talking. I can keep talking about this for like hours.
I for one
getting 3 more ideas.
Can't wait for teleportation, like you're talking about, not just making people disappear, but actually reappear in a separate place.
Yeah, so technically, the whole 3D hologram thing of me appearing next to you is teleportation, except that I'm not there for real.
Right.
But the time travel part that you're talking about, where I actually disintegrate into atoms here and reappear there, yes, that's we'll get there though. We'll get there. But you know what the real challenge is as a performer?
Yeah.
Especially for somebody like me, fighting technology. Because no matter what I do on stage today, people can look at me and go, oh, my phone can do that. His pen must be something special. It transmits something, and that's how we knew what I was thinking of. So to create acts where you clearly, and it's not enough to say, oh, you know what, this is a normal pen. Here, check with this now. And then now write. Now check that's not a transmittable paper. That will just kill the whole show, won't it?
Would you say that people have become more cynical as you've performed in front of them over the years?
Cynical, I'm not sure. There are 2 types of audiences in general. Those that don't know how to enjoy magic, and those that do. I think that's basically the difference. There are people who will just sit there saying, I am not going to get fooled today, and just spoil it for themselves. Just enjoy it. Go back home and use all your critical thinking and figure it out and write an essay about it. Nobody stops you. Don't spoil it for yourself and everybody else.
Very true. So I know we've been at it for over an hour, Nakul, and it's been
Have we? Wow.
Definitely an engaging conversation. We'll start winding down with the last couple of questions. I have Tarun asking, do you have any more books planned after your first? So you already put
okay. Does this Tarun spell is Tarun with a H?
No. Tarun.
Okay. So
why do you have a publisher friend?
No, I mean no. So I'm just thinking of a friend. He would have asked something like this. Tarun, good question. Question I've been asking myself. Actually, I was supposed to have released 3 more books. I had a 4-5 book contract with Harper. It's just been a variety of things that I have 3 half-written books at this point. So yes, I hope that I will be pretty soon completing these, and these would see the light of day. And so that I can follow up on some more ideas that I have. It's like this. Neil Gaiman and the whole Sandman series has one of these stories about this library of unwritten books, right? I think I have a shelf there. They have put a shelf for Nakul Shenoy, the books he's thought of or even started writing, and like I am sure even this has 2-3 pages of a book that I made the outlines for. So somewhere I think I need to just switch off and then just sit for a week and a book would come out, but I've not been able to do that. So
No,
thanks for asking.
Absolutely. Even if you start in the form of, I'm sure you have magazines and newspapers that would be very interested in either an article or a blog or something, it's worth thinking about.
So my background is that I am a writer, I am a communicator, and I see these as separate things. Yes, I can write essays and they can turn into a book. But one of the books I'm writing is a journey, is my journey, because the first book was more a teach magic thing. So this one, the second one was meant or is meant to be one which shares some of these stories that I keep talking about and what relevance it has and how has it changed me. And sharing, if it's a magic trick, sharing the trick with you. If it's a mental exercise, sharing the mental exercise. So it's a read plus also do it yourself kind of a book out there in the air.
So final question from the audience, and I think we have a very shy audience because none of them I've even texted want to come on.
Are you sure you're not just like asking me your questions and just putting people's names to it?
Well, if you're a mind reader, you should really come to know. But the final question that I have.
Okay, let's have that question.
Somebody called Joy. Do you believe in real magic? Are there things that really can't be explained?
Oh, yes, I believe in real magic. Two parts to that question. One, I absolutely believe in real magic. I want to find real magic. To me, the real magic is all around us, that we have a sun and that keeps us going and that we have a life and we have all these people around us is the most spiritual thing and is everything, right? I mean, to think if the sun was off for 8 minutes, we're all gone, dead, done, blah, blah. Yeah, scary, right? So magic is there. That is magic. Rainbow is magic. I mean, I am a nature guy. I love watching clouds, and that is magic. So everything around me, people, connections, life is magic. Having said that, we do also come across a lot of things that people see as miracles, as being real, power to see through, kids being blindfolded, being able to see and read and write. And all these other nonsense that comes our way all the time.
Correct.
I always would love to see them as real magic, but that brings me to your second question. Are there things that are unexplainable? To me, they are not. So the real magic is the first part, because all these other things we come across in life are not just explainable. Magicians have been doing it for centuries. The whole blindfold thing has been performed, and I have a blog on that. On Medium. So just put a Google search, Nakul Shenoy, midbrain or blindfold or whatever, and you'll find it. It actually was started 200 years back. And today we are fooling people by saying, hey, if you pay us 2 lakhs and your kid goes through a 2-day workshop, your kid can read with his eyes closed. No, with eyes blindfolded, not with eyes closed. I have a simple, if people who are watching this want to try this out, trust your kid. Why put the blindfold on their eyes? Remove the blindfold, put it on the book. Just take the blindfold, put it on the book, let the kid read it. If they do, call me. I would love to see real magic.
Sounds amazing. I think this is a great end to the conversation, Nakul. I mean, we could go on and on, but any parting words for our audience, anything that is inspiring or memorable that you would like to share with us, anything that we haven't covered already?
Thanks a lot, Siddharth. This has been fantastic. Again, I mean, I think we're just chatting, 2 times now in 3 days, and it's both have been fantastic conversations. I absolutely loved it. Parting words, I'm never great with partings. So I'm this guy who likes to stay connected. So I am Nakul Shenoy most of the places. You would find me as Nakul Shenoy on Twitter, where I haunt. Otherwise, a Google search on Nakul Shenoy should find me. And I reply. I mean, so you don't need to be rude. Be nice. Also, I'll reply. So I am not that Nakul that used to reply to rude mails anymore. So hi, and I'll reply. Parting words. Be true to yourself. I think that's the most important thing. I think in today's world where everything is so fast, And I see this in the kind of companies I consult, the startups, and I meet a lot of CEOs and CXOs, and general people. I think we all have aims, which is good. We all have things we want to do, which is good. But at some point, I think because we are trying to fit into everything else, we want to play like Siddharth is this interviewer right now, and I'm this interviewee. So we are both trying to play these parts. We're trying to fit into that. But either of us, and more importantly, both of us, have to be truthful to what we are and what we do. And so with whatever it is that you want to do, be truthful to yourself. You can still have that image. I can still be Nakul Shenoy, the most powerful being, Sorcerer Supreme, or Mandrake the Magician, your pick. But I should know for real that I do not have any powers. Even when people come and tell me, you have powers, I should know the truth that I don't. Right? There is a stage character and there is an off-stage character. Correct. So I'm hoping that this whole 1 hour plus conversation is useful in some way, if nothing else, just for that. There is a real me in here, and I need to be truthful to that real me. And I think that itself wins the world. So I don't know if that is parting words, but that's all I have.
As far as parting words, I think this is great. Be truthful to yourself. And Nakul, it's been a pleasure talking to you both on Tuesday as well as today. And hopefully I look forward to meeting up in person, either when you're in Pune or I'm in Bangalore, or maybe both of us meet up in a third city.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to it. Thank you so much again for having me. And thanks for the audience, and thanks for all the wonderful questions. If you have more, send it to me on Twitter and I will answer them.
Absolutely. Or just share it with us, write, comment, and I'll be sure to pass it along to Nakul. Nakul, thank you. We wish you all the happiness and all the success in the world. And like I said, look forward to catching up in person. Take care of yourself.
Same here. Cheers. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you, Nakul.